This is the most important election in the history of our country.
And nationally, the polls are showing an extremely close presidential race.
That's a good boy.
What's at stake in this election? Whoa, it's packed with some stuff.
We did it, Joe.
The city of Detroit and the whole state of Michigan.
Our palms are sweating, knees weak. We can't stand you, you're right.
And Donald Trump certainly should not be telling a woman what to do with her body.
Lying Kamala.
Turn that off.
This is the most important election of our lifetime.
Yeah, all right. Well, folks, thanks for coming to the big event. What's so goddamn funny about that? The event. You're like, you're not an event, sir. Fair enough. I stand corrected, folks, but let me tell you something. First of all, I'm looking over this election, and I realized something. We don't have to have it, you know. There's no rule that says we have to go through an election. If you look at the choices, you're like, we don't need to do this time, you know? We don't need that. There's no law. America, freedom, have the people decide, like, give us another choice. Like, you know, to Trump, Kamala, Jill Stein, and no, we're not going to do a president this time. And you're like, oh, how can we survive? We've been surviving for 6 months with no president. You didn't even notice the difference. You didn't even think about it. You're like, oh, yeah. I mean, there's been no president. It's like it runs the same. That's the thing. Because that's the thing. We always like, well, these politicians, it's all bullshit. You know, they don't really run the government. It's actually, they have nothing to do with it. It's the powers underneath. And we're like, it doesn't mean anything. It's a waste of our... And then the minute, the last 3 months before election season, everyone's like, this is the most important of... And there's always there's a small group of people that are hyper-political, and I swear to God, I mean, I don't know how the hatred I have for people that are really into it. It just makes me sick. It makes me sick because they're true believers, they're zealot people, and you know what I mean? People say extremists now. I said zealots. First time I've heard that word in a long time, but I like to bust out the old words, you know, folks? Yeah, and it's just that, and they think they're influential. They're like... I demand the immediate withdrawal of all U.S. aid to... what do you think the Joint Chiefs of Staff is going to say? Hey, you know this guy, Paul, he's kind of a mid-level guy. He's a nice, decent couch, but a lot of Arizona iced tea bottles with urine in them. And I shouldn't have said that now, you know what I mean? They're probably going to think I'm promoting their product. We'll probably get a bundle from them, like, hey, this guy's talking about Arizona iced tea, one idiot. But I mean, I'm not even depressed about the election. It's like, you know, it sort of reflects us. Like, you know, my mother, God rest her soul, we used to say, people are attracted to bullshit. She used to go, people love bullshit. And it's, you know, it's kind of a thing like, when I look now at the election, I'm like, of course it's bullshit. Everybody, we're kind of... Those two reflect us because we're all, the reason we're so divided is we're all on medication, which is good, but we're all on different medications. Of course we're divided. People don't get along on different medications. You don't see heroin addicts at a rave, you understand? You don't see potheads at a meth lab, you know what I'm saying, folks? But when you see Trump and Kamala speak, I'm always like, how come they both sound to me kind of like incoherent, always shocked in every interview? They both have that look like, you're asking me questions, you know what I mean? And I realize they're on medication like the rest of us. There's nothing wrong with that. He's on some kind of Adderall derivative, and she's on Xanax, you know? Because he talks like an Adderall guy. He's always changing the subject halfway through and doesn't want to stop talking, you know? He's just like, many people are very unhappy, and a lot of them are not pleased, and it's not to be believed, but people are believing it, and people are talking about it, but they're not saying anything, and they want to look at it, but they're not going to observe it this time, and I think it's actually a terrible thing, and it's just great. And you just have to cut out and just go, I gotta leave, you know, those people. And she speaks like somebody on Xanax. She, you know, where they grasp for every word, they kind of stammer, and she's like, okay, so this moment, all right, is now, and what happened in the past is then, in many ways, and the future is later, okay? And you're like, oh God, it's two conversations that I want to excuse myself, but I can't get out of, because they're the presidential candidates for our country. And then the representatives, let's see if there's the representatives are also they're insane. They're the popular ones because of social media. They're the social media stars. The Squad and the MAGA girls are both, you know, these two groups of people that are the most famous ones to all of us, and they're both crazy because the Squad is kind of like, you know, they're cheering riots, and the MAGA girls are cheering January 6th. It's not helpful that these two groups are like, representatives are supposed to go, yeah, good for you. No, you're supposed to go, no. It's the rules of order, you know? And the Squad, they yell at their colleagues and call them genocidal colonizers. And the MAGA girls are giving hand jobs at like road company Broadway productions, and what the hell is happening? What is happening? You know what I mean? It's a product of social media. That's who we are now. Everybody, the more you're on camera, they're the famous ones. They're the ones we all know because they're the ones that are out there all the time and being out there. And the problem is the public also feels like they want to be out there too. So it's the most extreme voices, the most psychotic people that get up and speak at all time. And everyone, and think people are listening. They think they're politicians now. Because the ultimate democracy, they speak like, I have friends that nobody even listens to, but they're like, my position has never changed. Oh, you have a position? Do you? You don't have a position unless you're an elected official. You have a thought. How about that? My thought has never changed. Well, they're like, my record has remained consistent. Oh, you have a record all of a sudden. And then they're like, I'm taking a break from social for a while. And a well-deserved one. You've done a lot of important work, and you need to recalibrate and come back stronger than ever, because your voice is an important one in this election season, and really at all times in many ways. And yeah, I'm using notes because because I was going to be a teleprompter, but then, you know, you see how teleprompters do. First of all, they don't work. You see, Kamala tries to use teleprompter. When it goes out, she just freezes and short wires and just stands there laughing for no reason. And Trump's teleprompter is in his head, apparently. He's got a teleprompter. It's a combination of like a sales manual from the 1960s and the Red Wedding, you know? That was a good one. And the only reason we care about these elections is because it's a fight. Like if it was just one, we all kind of agreed on the candidate, nobody be interested. But when it's a fight, you know what I mean? That's just human nature. When you're in school, you know, you go outside at 3 o'clock. Nobody goes outside to watch the smart kid help the lonely kid study. You know what I'm saying? You're like, aren't you a little proud of your jokes? Kind of. Now, you might say, well, why are we even voting for candidates? We shouldn't be. We should be voting for the powers that really exist. Like, why are we not voting for a combination of somebody people want, and then, you know what I mean? Somebody who seems like a leader, or they seem like they're really in charge, combined with somebody who young people, old and young. You get like the chairman of the Federal Reserve and the Hawk Tour girl. You know, or you get like the CEO of Goldman Sachs and what are they called? Kai Cenat, or, you know, the one, or the head of BlackRock and the Bring the Boom family, you know? I mean, that Bring a Boom family, never mind, I don't need to digress, but I just admire the fact that, like, we don't care, you know what I mean? I mean, they must get ratio like nobody else, but all right. And that's the beauty. The internet has revealed there's no solutions. All we do is give our opinions all day. And I know some of you are going, oh, but look at you. You're talking about people giving their opinions, and you're on stage giving your opinions. What a hypocrite. You never met a hypocrite before? It's not a murderer, I'm a hypocrite. It's not even illegal to be a hypocrite, I don't think. It's like a misdemeanor if it's anything. It's not even a misdemeanor. But you're like, but God frowns on hypocrisy. Okay, so it'll be awkward in heaven whenever I pass God. When God gives me like the evil eye when I'm talking to a friend of mine, and they're like, what's with God? And you're like, I don't know. I think he's looking at somebody behind me. There's a couple of, yeah. And representatives, they're all stark raving mad. Here's the problem with democracy: is it's kind of like a Springsteen, like any concert you would go to. You know what I mean? And if you go to see Bruce Springsteen, you pay a lot of money. Let's say Billy Joel, because we're in New York. Billy Joel, you go there, probably want to hear Billy Joel sing. No, you have to listen to everybody else that paid the same amount of money sing Billy Joel songs because they are allowed to. You know what I mean? So it's like you're listening to, I don't know, Billy Joel. She got a way about her from a 3-pack-a-day Waffle House waitress and a chemical plant operator on the other side of you. And Billy Joel's like, if you know the lyrics, sing along. Hey, Billy, people paid big money to not have other people sing along. How about you say, hey, if you know the lyrics, keep it to yourself and sing it in the car on the way home. Other people paid money. It's a weird system, you know what I mean? Like, it's sort of like we feel like we're in charge, but we're sort of half in, you know what I mean? Like, it's like when you go out with you still have to pay taxes on shit you didn't necessarily want to. It's like going out to dinner with your boss or something. And he's like, I'm going to get wings. You'll have wings if I get wings, right? And you're like, nah, I don't really like wings. But you'll have one or two. You're not going to have one or two? You're like, maybe I'll have one or two. Yeah, give us 4 dozen wings. We'll split the check. Anyway, yeah, because here's the thing. Trump and Kamala, I look at it like this. First of all, they're the epitome of social media because, he's a troll and she's a Karen. And whoever's in charge, we know how it'll be if Trump's in charge because we already had it. It was, it was like being a driver's ed instructor with a new student the whole 4 years. Every day you were like, fuck, watch, fuck, what, fuck are you doing? And then at the end, you're like, geez, I thought I was going to crash. I guess it wasn't better. And if Kamala's in charge, they're going to be pulling your car over going, hey, we get a report of misinformation. Would you mind stepping out for a second, okay? Like, okay, let's just run your feed here. Oh, it's usually like Spotify. You got a lot of Kid Rock songs. No, it was the Sheryl Crow album. Okay. You retweeted Dr. Jordan Peterson. What the hell's that about? Oh, no. Hey, thumbs behind your back. Turn around for a second. You're like, I'm a target. I got to get rid of this Tesla, And here's, by the way, the other problem is we think our system is great. It's every 4 years, we're like, it's out of all the systems, it's the best one. Every year, 51-49. That's what it is. That means almost half the country is furious every 4 years. How is that a good system? If you went to the doctor and you said, what are the odds of the operation? He's like, 51-49. Like, I don't want to have the operation. He's like, what? That's not bad. Yeah, it's horrible. If a movie was like Rotten Tomatoes 51, you're like, I don't want to go see that. You know what I mean? That means half the country is furious for 4 years. That's uncomfortable. No wonder we're so anxiety-ridden. You fall asleep with one eye open because, half the country wants to kill you. We should make it whoever loses, the other half people have to leave the country for the 4 years. You know what I mean? Because this sounds unpatriotic, but England was right. This was a shit idea. We had the perfect system. We had the perfect system in 1775, a remote king. That's the best governmental system. You didn't know what the fuck. We do whatever we wanted. But you could drop his name if Spain and Portugal stepped to us. We're like, hey, King George might not like this. And we threw it all away for what? Stamps and tea. You feel stupid now, don't you? When's the last time you used either one? It's America. It was email and coffee, right? Because I love this country, but I think we should sell. I think we all agree, because at least put it out in the market, see if there's interest. You don't know. You know, and make it attractive, knock down the Rockies, open concept. You know how they do those shows. Double sinks, Atlantic and Pacific. Nice backsplash of Grand Canyon, you know. Because, yeah, your life wouldn't change. You might actually get some money out of it. It's just, you know what I mean? The only difference would be in a drunken argument. You couldn't say, because I'm an American, that's why. You'd have to say, because I'm a subsidiary of a Dutch, Singapore, natural gas, finance, international, LLC, you know. That's why. Yeah, and then you watch the State of the Union, and it's always 80 applause breaks on one side, people saying shit that we all say, and then half the people are sitting on their hands, and they're like, we got to bring the people together. It's like, could you just pretend once in a while, you know? All right. Yeah, and everybody. Now, here's the thing. Everybody tries to be political, and Taylor Swift is a perfect example of how we all are. She says it, but it's performative because she knows she can't really live up to it, or she wouldn't survive either. But it's easy to be a rebel. She gets up there. My brother brings his daughter, she's 14, to a Taylor Swift. She's like, fuck the patriarchy. She has the whole crowd of 14-year-old girls chanting, fuck the patriarchy. Which is fine, but then they go out in the parking lot. Hi, Daddy, thanks for picking me up. If it wasn't for the patriarchy, nobody would be driving the kids to that show. She'd have an empty stadium. She should have them chanting, fuck the bus. You know? Yeah. It's 350 million personalities. That's the problem with our country. We set up a system, and by the way, we're known as the first nation of laws, right? Nation of laws. And you know what they say? Law is reason free from passion. And you know who said that was Elle Woods in Legally Blonde in her commencement speech. And I shouldn't know that, but I do. And you might say, did you look that up for the show? No, sadly, I actually knew that. I know the whole fucking speech, and the guy sitting there, Warner, his name, his boyfriend. That's sad that I actually know that. But all right. Well, let's talk about what leader, because this show, believe it or not, I don't even know what it's about anymore, but it's about leaders. Because we want somebody who flatters us, right? You want a president that kind of says the American people are resilient, and you're like, ooh, you know what I mean? You have to say both sides of everything. That's what a real leader does. They're like, we are steadfast but flexible, and tough but compassionate as we look to the future and learn from the past as a community of collective individuals. It's like, what? There's no such thing as a fucking community of collective individuals, you know? And then they say this, all their statements about we have to make sure that we secure our borders and allow a pathway to citizenship at the same time. It's like, all right, I don't know how you do that. But yeah, but that's what we want. We want somebody who's reassuring, somebody you want a leader that's tough, but not psychotic. You don't want a leader that's like, I just wake up, you know, he's like, I fucked up Nova Scotia last night while you people were sleeping. You're like, what? I just sent a couple of nukes over there just to let everybody else know that we're not playing games. Like, oh my God, this guy's crazy. And you want somebody who's, you know, like, not confident but not distracted. You know what I mean? You still want them focused. You don't want somebody with the press conference like, Mr. President, what about the economy? He's like, what? The economy? I'm not thinking about what do you think? All I think about is the American people? I got other shit I think about too, you know. I got a whole life, family. Fucking guy. Don't flatter yourself, really. You know, you can't be depressed. You want somebody who's humorous, a president, right? But you don't want somebody who's like roasting you. You don't want somebody who's trying to be funny. He's like, hey, Wisconsin, I got to get out of here. I don't know how I fit in this state, you fat bastards. You're like, what the fuck? Jesus, guys. Hey, South Dakota, you guys are really fun. Boy, I can't wait. Like, yeah, the president's a little rude, I think, you know what I mean? And you can't be depressed. Nobody wants a depressed president. That's one thing you can't come out and be like, hey, what's up? People are like, what's going on? I don't know. I'm just in a weird mood right now. And you can't be surprised. Nobody wants a president that's surprised. You come out and, Mr. President, what's going on? We heard there's a possibility of a war going on with Russia. What? You didn't hear about it? No, shit. Fuck. Seriously? Oh, man, I got to talk to somebody. What happened? He's waiting for you to tell him. What happened? All right. I can look at my phone, And the other thing is the debates. Debates are so boring because, first of all, these advisors stink. I should be a presidential advisor because you have the candidate come out, and if they're going to debate, you get the jump on the other candidate. You go out. First of all, you have your candidate limp in. When they just walk in with a limp and just holding like a little bit of just a bloody cloth to their head like this. And then when they go, what's going on? No, somebody was talking shit about the American people. I'm sorry. I don't know what I tried not to say anything, but people are like, he really loves us. He's a real patriot. Or wear a lot of cologne perfume so the other candidate's just rattled by you and nobody can see what the problem is, but they feel it. Then they're scrunching their nose the whole time. Like, I don't like that other candidate. They're making fucking faces the whole time. Or just look over their shoulder like something bad's coming while they're talking. And then like, what? Nothing. What were you saying? Well, look, you just moving your teeth like that. Like, huh? And you're like, what? My teeth? No, not you. Yeah, and instead it's just the same old boring. Everybody says the same thing, and it's just like this fake sincerity, and the other problem is we're naive, we just expect these mediocre people, because they're average people. First of all, you don't have to, this is why they're average, because we don't care enough about politics to force them to train. If you want to be an electrician, you have to go to school for 5 years. A nurse, 4 years. President or Congress or Senator, they're like, yeah, give it a try, see how it goes. What'd you do before? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you did. Just do whatever you want. Could we have schools, please? Starting when they're little, if it's that important, we should be saying, now, this is serious. You have to learn the basics of being a person. Like you should have got your ass kicked at least 3 times. Had, your heart broken twice. How to use a different voice on the phone with a credit card collection. Had to drive a car with a different colored door on the side in front of all these people giving you the evil eye. Had to get yelled at by somebody younger than you because they were your supervisor at work. When you get yelled at by somebody younger than you, it changes you. You understand what the public's going through. Because when I was in 5th grade, if you told me a 3rd grader is going to be able to yell at you and you won't be able to do anything but stand there, I would have said, get the fuck out. What are you kidding me? And when you're an adult, that's part of life. If somebody younger than you yells at you, you have to stand there and take it. It's unnatural, Yeah, we just believe these people. It's like, hey, guess what? They're human, and most of them are mediocre. They're crazy. Just imagine, they are people that think, I'm been this average person. Once I get around the corridors of power, money, and fame, that won't affect me. How dumb are they? Not as dumb as us who go, hey, that person, they won't change once they get in there. They're stupid, we're stupid. Instead of, let's be realistic, like the Eric Adams say. Here's what we do. We say, when you get in your position from nowhere, you get 3 scandals during your term. 1 sex scandal, you have an affair or something, you know what I mean? Well, you got a new office, breaking it, some people want to have an affair. It's not the end of the world. It's very European back in the 70s. And everyone's like, oh, an affair. What are we in, fucking Plymouth Rock, for Christ's sakes? Then you have 1 financial thing where you rob money. You're just like, I'm sorry, I was never around that kind of cash before. And then 1 of those things where you do a favor for some rich guy that helped you get elected, you know what I mean? Get his kid into a college, whatever, Because everybody's always like, oh my God, they help the rich people. Yeah, the rich people gave them money to get elected. We make them beg for money to run for office. You have to beg for money the whole time. And then when somebody gives you money, we're like, oh my God, do a favor. I wouldn't trust anybody who wouldn't do a favor for somebody that gave them money. The guy helps you get elected. He gets all his friends, the living room, he's giving you speeches. And then he elected, he's like, hey, could you help my son get a job? Fuck that asshole, kid. Look, everybody's shocked by the corruption. What the fuck? You know what I mean? But we all know politics is like OnlyFans. You know what I mean? The more you pay, the more you get to see what's really going on there. You know, at the basic level, you pay the basic level, and you get this speech that we all get, you know, America, we will bond together and come back stronger than ever. And then the little more, you get the manufacturing in your state. The guy actually gives you a little something. And then, I guess the top tier, right, you get to actually feel like you know them. They know your name. Hey, Bill, Dolores, keep an eye on this guy. He's trouble. You're like, hey, we met the guy. He said our names. All right. That's something. OnlyFans. Jesus Christ. See, OnlyFans all over this page. I look like a psycho. I know you're like, could you have done something with these a little better order? I could have. I was actually told to before the show, they go, do you want a staple? I go, no, not a staple. That would be too professional, and that would lead to a very smooth show, and it's only being filmed, and, yeah. Oh, well, this is what happens. Yeah, okay. Here's what we do. I have the solutions, because the other thing that drives me crazy is nobody ever requires presidential candidates or senators or anybody to have a solution. They say what you say, and then we're like, yeah, that person's great. They're saying the idea that you're saying. They're saying the problem back to you, and nobody seems to notice. What do they say? Yeah. It is unacceptable in one of the richest countries in the world that we have a homeless problem of this magnitude. And everyone's like, yeah, that's what we're saying to you. What's the idea? Nobody seems to notice. They're like, no, he said what we said. Their job is to come up with the idea. But somehow that doesn't seem to matter anymore. I'll give you I'm not even running for office. I have solutions for all of this shit. Homelessness, simple. We assign every person here one homeless person, and that's your franchisee, for lack of a better word. Then it becomes a matter of peer pressure, where people are like, I see a guy in the street, he looks like shit. What's the matter? Can't you afford to take care of you? And then you pay off just because you feel embarrassed. Like, hey, man, you're making me look bad. Get some clothes, yeah? Get some new threads. Just go to Target. Don't get crazy. I don't know if I can. Target. They have a nice basement section. Immigration. That's a real slap in the face. People literally go to you like this. All the politicians say, we need and they say it like they're pissed like you did something wrong. We need a comprehensive immigration plan now. It's like, first of all, just think of the level of insult that is. They're telling you we need a comprehensive. That means understandable. That means coherent. What the fuck? Obviously. Oh, a comprehensive plan. Don't spoil us. What are you talking about? Of course we need a comprehensive plan. I'll give you an immigration solution right now. Here's what we do. There's two ways to go with this one. One is, it's always import-export, right? It's always like bringing in them, and people are like, there's too many people, too many jobs. We want laborers, we export. We send out what we have in excess of to offset off the balance, which is talkers, pundits, journalists, comedians, podcasters, YouTubers, influencers, kick streamers, Twitch streamers, And here's the other, thank God I have two for this, by the way, after that response. But here's the other solution. We just go the other way, and we don't immigrate, I don't even know what the term is. We form a super continent with South America and Central America. They're already called America. We don't have to change the name. And then we have 1 billion people, and we let Canada join. They get like 70,000 people. And we form a supercontinent where we have so many minerals, coffee, cocaine. And then we tell all the other places, like, hey, what are you going to do now? We got you might say, but you can't make a continent a country. Australia pulled it off. You're Australian, so you know. It's not rocket science, right? It's easy, see? You guys say that about everything now. It's easy. We'll do it, yeah. What's that? No worries, exactly. That's what I meant. But now another problem, abortion. Unsolvable, folks, please. Once again, how can we ever rectify this situation? How about this? The only people that vote on abortion for my first 4 years of when I'm is mothers who are disappointed with how their adult children turned out. Because they've seen both sides of this equation. The magic of childbirth and the horror of a 48-year-old vaping on your couch at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The agony and the ecstasy. Yeah? Gun control, unsolvable. How about this? You want a gun, you get a gun. But first, give us the name of the 3 people you feel love you the most on this planet. Then at point of purchase, we FaceTime those 3 people, and we tell them your friend Joe Schmo here is about to buy a gun. And if they go, really? No gun. All right, guys, that's this part of the show. Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. Now, we're going outside, we're walking down that street. Don't try to weasel out of it, all right? So thanks for coming out. And by the way, everything that we say here stays between us. She knows I was joking. All right, let's start by, this is how the country started, right? This is how the world started. It was like Brigham Young, Joseph Smith. They go around, meet all these people, take them across the country. You know, I know it's Columbus Day. It's a touchy subject for a lot of people. But my name is Colin Iser. That's the funniest thing someone will say today. Anyway, I'll give you a little intro to what's going on. First of all, the Blue Note. I'll give you sort of a half tour, half philosophical ramblings. The tour will be better, but you know, for my sake, I like to say that is the Blue Note. That's the original jazz club. That was where the first interracial relationships ever happened, was in the Blue Note. In the 1950s, it was illegal to have an interracial relationship outside the Blue Note, unless you were, unless the woman was from Europe, then it was okay. They'd be like, what's going on there? They're like, don't worry, she's Swedish. They're like, okay, let it pass. All right, we're moving on. This 7-Eleven, the 7-Eleven was not here. What was here, this was probably like, you know, this is probably like where the Italians would go and get jobs when they got off the boat. That was probably like some, not social club, but like a community center, like Genco Olive Oil Company, if you see The Godfather 2. Where he's like, Signora Colombo, they're kicking her out because she's a dog. He's like, kick your Sicilian ass, yeah. Then he comes back the next day, he found out who the Godfather is. He's like, hey, your renta, she stays like before, 50, unduce. And, yeah, because this is like the Italian, oh shoot, I thought it was drama. Don't worry, we come in peace. Let's go, everybody. This park was the Village. This is where like the first joint was actually smoked in that park. In 1951 was the first, because the Blue Note was heroin, jazz was heroin, and then folk was pot. At least that's the story I'm going with right now. Some of you may recognize this building where the new Comedy Cellar will be. Haha, fantastic. And you had a nice promotion, you know, tell your friends. And make your reservations now. But this was the McDonald's, and this is famous because this was the first World Star Hip Hop, like famous viral video. There was a war in here every night. There used to be McDonald's here, there was a Burger King next door. The Burger King was Bloods, McDonald's was Crips. This is back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And yeah, and this was like the McDonald's, because that's what people don't realize. Well, these are our national landmarks now, wherever the early viral videos are. You know what I mean? Like, this is not real life. We're just a movie set for YouTubers and Twitch streamers. We don't exist except for them to you know what I mean? Life is not real. Okay, here we go up here. Another fantastic West 4th Street playground. You probably heard about me there, but you know, I can't really move vertically the way I used to, but you know, I'm sure if I went over there, I could still take care of business if I had to. And that's the Independent Film Center, but that was the Waverly Movie Theater back in the day. That was called the Waverly, and it was like a real indie movie theater. You'd see a lot of, or it wasn't a clay, it wasn't like a duplex. And I'll tell you a funny story. So one time, my manager in the 80s goes to the movies to see this movie, No Surrender. Irish movie, Belfast, heavy movie. You know the movie? Yeah, so it's about old people that get violent and don't give it up, the Catholics and the Protestants. So she goes, I go, how was that movie? I wanted to go see it too. She goes, it was good, except there was this one guy, with an older guy, turns around and starts punching a young guy in the middle of this violent movie about how violence is foolish. He's punching the young guy in the face. So I go, that's terrible. So then I visit my father, who lived over on 8th Street, about a few days later, and his whole hand is cut. I go, what happened? And he goes, I was at the movie, No Surrender, and this young guy, I go, be quiet. The guy, we kept talking during the movie. And he goes, fuck you, old man. And he turned around and started punching him. And my father was far from a thug. He taught at City College. He was an intellectual. But it just goes to show, in those days, before you could have viral fights, if somebody said, fuck you, old man, you would have to punch him in the face. That was almost, that was at the old Waverly. And so this is what it was like in the old days. What I was trying to say before, which, as you know, did not work the way we wanted to, was that this is how it used to be. In the old day, this was, first of all, before language, it didn't matter. Before language, it was whoever's the most violent person here, whoever's the toughest person here ran things. And then once language came, somebody stood up and go, you know what? Before that, it was reality. Your actions defined you. You're like, yeah, we kill people, we murder, we take over. And once language came, somebody stood up and goes, you know what? We kill, but we don't kill. We kill because we sense there's something greater in the world. I like this tribe. I like who we are. And people are like, I like this guy. I want him to be in charge. He said, the other tribes are wanderers. We're explorers. The other people, we're nomads. Those people are homeless, And this is probably how Socrates did it. Socrates was probably like, the guy's like, hey, how you doing? Good. But what is good? People are like, oh, fuck, I gotta make it. And then Jesus, this is almost a Christ-like thing now that I think about it. And Jesus, you're like, yeah, but Christ didn't force people as part of the show. There. But Christ was the first one. People are like, why is he so popular? He was the first one to talk to poor people. Before him, nobody talked to goddamn poor people. They weren't allowed in the temple. He said, come on into church. Before that, like, get those poor people out of the way before the Pharaoh comes. You know what I mean? Moses, too, speaking of the Pharaoh. How do you think it felt to be Moses? How do you think Moses felt trying to bring all the Hebrew tribes, 12 tribes of the Hebrews, across to Canaan? And, obviously the whole book is about them complaining. And, like, Canaan, why do we have to go there? Whoever, what kind of a name is that for a place? Like, oh, jeez. All right. This park has a lot of rats in it, and there was a lot. But Bob Dylan, I mean, he probably used to hang out in this park. Any street here say Bob Dylan, and people are like, oh, Bob Dylan's the greatest. Oh, Timothy Chalamet, Bob Dylan. Let me tell you something about Bob Dylan. Nobody can say anything bad about Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan's the number one song of all time, Like a Rolling Stone, Bob Dylan. And you know the lyrics, how does it feel to be on the song is about him mocking and having a victory lap over some girl that ran into some drug trouble in the early 60s when any one of us could have, and ended up like prostituting herself and being homeless. And Bob's like, how does it feel? It feels demoralizing, Bob. What do you think? And some who are like, Bob, what a poet, what an American poet. Guy's a goddamn sadist, you know what I mean? Bob was maybe the first incel in many ways, now that I think about it. And now we're going around the corner. First is everything here. First Italian, first immigrants, first weed, first interracial couples, first, and of course the first gay. This was the gay neighborhood before any place else. Chelsea, forget it. Even the West Village wasn't gay. Imagine you grew up in your small town, and then suddenly you come here, and the gays weren't allowed to be gay in any other place. they would have to go, like all they could do is like, run the community theater in some little town and maybe gossip. And they're like, oh, he's a good, whatever. They weren't like, then you come here and suddenly a guy walks up to you and he's like, hey, how you doing? And we're both from, you're from Omaha. I'm from, Lafayette, Louisiana. And I'm like, hey, how about want to go get a highball? I used to go to drink. Oh, jeez. You're not playing games. All right. You guys want me to stop? Is that what's going on? Oh, no, I meant you. Oh, thanks. I thought you were telling me not to go. We really choreographed this well. It took us... We spent 8 minutes today. Hey, watch out. Now this, as you know, is I don't know, but it's Minetta Place. It's really the comedy. I mean, this theater was like, in the days, once again, this is where like alternative theater began, like off Broadway. Joseph Papp was a big, avant-garde theater guy where you'd come into the theater and then the cast would be in the audience and you had to be on stage and you'd have to do the play for them. I'm just, I'm imagining, they do like Measure for Measure with like, 8 dogs and 5, relatives of you. And, oh yeah. And I say, oh yeah, I don't know what's going on. I'm like, oh yeah. That's really the key. This is how lead is formed. You never go, oh no, you go, oh yeah. Like, I know what I'm doing. Well guys, this is really basically, oh no, it's not the end of the tour. But this is the coolest 3 blocks in the city. I mean, this is amazing when you think about it. I lived there for about 2 weeks at my friend's apartment. I had to sleep in that stupid thing next to Joe's Pizza, that Red Haven. And there's no rule that says I can't turn around, right? All right. It is kind of cool to back up. Well, anyway, folks, here's where it all comes to the end. Ooh, nice. And that's my personal trainer and my dog. No, I'm kidding. Thank you guys very much for coming to the show. Really appreciate it. Thank you. I'm going back to do another one. And thank you guys. I'm sorry the first 45 weren't that great, but then it got better. All right. Thank you.
For the election, right?
That's for the election, which, it's going to be interesting because if it's a week before and then it comes out, it's going to be interesting to see what changes happen in that time.
And who do you got your money on?
Jill Stein.